there were many holy births, immaculate conceptions in ancient Kemet. Of course, the first one was Ashra, Set, and Heru. So down through the millenniums in ancient Kemet, those stories were told. In this particular case, in this temple, a lot of it built by Amenhotep III, he's born of a virgin birth and immaculate conception. To be a Nisu on the throne, he had to be born of a virgin birth and immaculate conception, even though his biological father may have been, many Keparachis may support, but we see that his spiritual father would be Amen. So here's the story that Amen comes in a ray of light to his mother Matamuia, and says that, and in that union, he impregnates her. And she has the holy child, Amenhotep III. So Matamuia, his mother, is giving a holy birth. So this holy birth story is indigenous to the Nile Valley. So in the establishment of Western version of Christianity, they observed these stories. When I showed you the lecture today about the Alexandria Library, and I also talked about the Ptolemies, who were here for 300 years to study. The Romans came for another 400 years, they studied. The Byzantine Romans came for another 400 years, they studied. So we're talking about 1,000 years to develop religious concepts that make up the Western version of Christianity. When we go tomorrow, or day after tomorrow, we're going to go to Zetzru, the most select and holy of places of Makari Hatshepsut. Here we see the story that she's born of a virgin birth and immaculate conception. So this story, we can clearly see that it was observed by others and incorporated into making their religion. If the European version was first, then why is it identical to the stories that we see here? Especially when it was not first. Right. This was first. So when looking at a classroom, if someone's plagiarizing your paper, you wrote the paper first. You know the story. So when we look at these stories and ideas of the Black Madonna and things that I've talked about in the Cairo Museum, that is an ancient spiritual story going all the way back. So when you go to the Vatican, and you go to the cellar of the Vatican, and they have the Black Madonna that they secretly worship. Why do they have her in the cellar of the Vatican, and why are they secretly worshiping her? Because they are connecting with an old tradition of where they got it from. They are worshiping the Black Madonna Aset. Even Paris, France, is named after Per Aset. Per Aset is the house of Aset. And you're going to go there, it's called the house of Isis or the temple of Isis today. The Notre Dame Church is identical to the temple of Aset. The Western Church is built on the same structure of the oblong shape of the African Kemetic temples that you see here, the oblong shape and the tall structure in the front. So where are they getting this from? Or is it coming out of their mind, their creativity, or is it coming out of an ancient African Kemetic creativity that took place thousands of years ago before the Western world was even in existence? And according to their own records, when all this was done, Europeans were in caves. That's their story. So the problem is, when you don't have no ancient history, then you try to take things and then make it your own. So we have to go back. So when we see this is in ruins, we're going to show you the other account of Makari Hatshepsut. And here we see again, here's Amen. And here we see Mut, the spiritual mother that we see Matamuia becomes personified as. And even though it's in ruins here, we can pick it out. Some of the other ideas, they're going to be better released when we get in there tomorrow. We see the letter Tahuti. Why do we have Tahuti here? Because Tahuti is the one that gave the call that not only would Aset have immaculate conception, but all the stories, we also get a call that we see that Matamuia is going to have a holy birth. Now, isn't that the same thing we get in Christianity? We got Gabriel, the angel of the Lord, appears in the back room. Let me know if I'm wrong.
Right.
And Mary says, who are you? I'm Gabriel, the angel of the Lord. Well, why are you here? Let you know you're going to have a holy birth. But it's not going to be a Joseph's seed, okay? It says it's going to be of God's seed. And then poor Mary got to go back and say, Joseph, I'm pregnant, but it's not your baby. The angel of the Lord came on, and I got pregnant. Yeah. Now, brothers, I don't know if you believe it or not. No. Your wife comes to you and says,
I need to meet this answer.
Oh, wait a minute. Doesn't say you just got to have some faith. Just have some faith. But the point is, that story was plagiarized because it was Tahuti that gave the cause. So when we look at Tahuti, Tahuti becomes Gabriel. So when you look at the Netaruns and compare the stories of what they refer to as angels, that's literally plagiarized from ancient Kemet. So that's why the Roman Byzantine Christians had to shut down Egypt. When Theodosius and Justinian in the 4th and 6th century AD, they shut these temples down. Why did they shut them down? Because they were copying stories. They could not have people believe in the dogma if you have the original stories. Because the brain will think once you have information before it. Yep. And if anyone did a comparative analysis, they can see where these people stole these ideas from. Okay? So when we look at the Black Madonna all over Europe, that Black Madonna is in Europe because the Romans and the Greeks worshipped her, and what they refer to as the Herculean worship of the goddess Isis. So the Romans carried her throughout their empire to Gaul, which is France, Britannia, which is Britain, Germania, which is Germany. So if you were to go to Europe and see the Black Madonna, that is a leftover from the period when they worshipped Isis, or Aset, as our ancestors called her. That's what we see here. And then when you see it in the church, in the Vatican, the Black Madonna, that's still the connection to Aset. So the Pope secretly worships her behind closed doors. And I have pictures to validate it. It'll be part of the upcoming lectures, especially when we get to the Temple of Aset. So again, it's about for us to think. And once we're able to think out and we can see that it's one thing that we can come through here and just see and look, but it's another thing when we start to put together the puzzle of the spiritual ideas and spirituality that started here. And without it, what we know today in various religions and so forth and Western civilization would not exist. Hotep?
Hotep.